ahead and get rolling. First off, once again, welcome back, Mr. Simpson. Glad to see you back, doing well. We'll get rolling with volleyball like usual. Panthers improved to 12-0 in Missouri Valley Conference play over the weekend with a sweep last Thursday over Belmont and a tough-fought 4-set win at Southern Illinois on Saturday. UNI will round out the regular season home schedule this week when they host Drake tomorrow night for senior night at 6 p.m. and UIC on Friday at 6 p.m. for senior night. UNI's magic number to clinch at least a share of the Valley's regular season title sits at 2, an outright title at 3. Here's Coach Peterson.
Thanks, Joel. Well, just like I said last week, kind of a weird schedule, playing on Thursday and then Saturday, but I thought we had a really good home match versus Belmont. We talked a little bit about what their serving was like, best serving team in the conference, and part of that's because of the different types of serve they have with the jump top, floaters, short, deep, and I thought as a passing unit, we were really good on Thursday night, really proud of our efforts in that area. One of the areas that a lot of teams have tried to take us out with our offense is the short serve, and I think it's the first match where we actually took care of that in a very good way. So very proud of our team on that side, which then led into what I thought was a really good balanced offense. So we continued to be super balanced on the offensive side. Defensively, I thought we played well. We had a little trouble with number 12. She did a really good job. She scores in a lot of different ways, and we had trouble slowing her down. But overall, I thought our defense was good. We still continue to work on the block setup, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when I talk about Southern. But overall, just a good home match for us. Then short practice on Friday before we headed to Southern, and as I talked about last week, a tough place to play. And I think, being honest, it was probably our poorest match this season in terms of discipline. But I think a lot of things played into that. First of all, I thought Southern came out and just really, we talked about threw a bunch of punches at us, and for a long time in that match, I felt like we were just taking it rather than responding in a positive way. And I think that led into a little bit of our lack of discipline. It was a great learning opportunity for us in a lot of different ways. I think we have certain parts of our game. I talk a lot about our block setup and our ability to want to get better at that. But I think we allowed that inability that night to funnel into some other things and just get a little bit frustrated, not be able to move on quickly to the next point. We always talk about the most important point is the next point, not what happened before, not what's 3 points from now. And I thought we got challenged with that a lot. And I give a ton of credit to Southern. They played amazing. I think we talk a lot about our balance in our offense. We were very left side heavy on Saturday. I give a lot of kudos to Cass and Lily. They really stepped up. I think it's set to Cass just completely turned over and willed our team not to lose that set. Just did a really good job of, she was going to get the ball. There was no doubt about it. So really proud of her for that. So again, defensively, just the lack of discipline and things we need to be better at and be able to move on from. But I love the fact that we were able to learn a lot in a lot of different ways and still come up with the win in a very hard fought battle at Southern. So proud of our team. Obviously heading into this week, our last 2 regular season home matches, and they're 2 really tough opponents. So we have Drake, who both Drake and UIC are tied for 3rd right now, and just 1 match out of 2nd place. And obviously, 1st and 2nd get a bye, so it's really important for them as well. So going into Drake tomorrow night, Drake is on, I think it's a 9-match winning streak. They haven't lost since our match with them at their place, and it was a tough match there. Drake is just good at everything. So they're top 4 in most of the statistical categories. So they're just good at everything. I think one of their biggest assets are their outsides. They're 2nd and 3rd in the conference in kills per set, but they run a 6-2, and if you put all your focus on those 2 kids, you're going to pay the price because they have definitely hitters in the front row that can take care of it. So lots to be challenged for in our defense, and we talk about block setup. They have a lot of sets that are dying on the inside, a lot of sets that are a little bit faster than what we've seen lately, so we will be challenged with that block setup, but I'm looking forward to a good response after Saturday's match. And then heading into Friday, as Joel said, it's our senior night, so we'll recognize after the match, Sydney and Lindsay, so an awesome opportunity to do that. But then playing a very, very hot UIC team. And we talk about offense and balance. They are one of the teams that for sure have the balance, but also I think they have 3 or 4 kids that can be go-tos at any moment. Their right side is doing really well right now, but they have 2 really good lefts, a good middle. So just a team that you cannot focus on 1 or 2 kids. Definitely the serve and pass game will be really important. They're second in the offense. I think next to us in most categories, but they're also second in blocks per set, so just really good at the net, but can also be scrappy behind in the backcourt as well. So looking forward to 2 very fun, challenging matches as we round out our regular season home, which is just absolutely crazy to think about. So any questions?
Going back to handling Belmont serving, how impressive was it that Brooke Gilliland comes in with a big top spin serve, leads the conference in aces, and you held her to 4-1 and dones, and really no service damage done?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure you could tell by the reaction of our team when we sided out every time she served how important that was to our game plan. But I'm going to give a lot of credit to Big Deb, our machine that tries to replicate the jump serve. It's not even close to the same, but it's something. So we did a lot of practice with that, and we got better and better at that through the week. The first time we brought Big Deb out, it was rough, but I thought we did a really good job of adapting. It's one of those things it's such a good jump serve that you almost have to take it like it's an attack and you're trying to defend rather than serve receive. And I thought our kids started buying into that concept later in the week for sure. All right.
I got a question.
Yep.
With you got conference tournament coming up here and some pretty important matches. Is it good to have a week like this where you play 2 very good opponents?
I think definitely it's good to play 2 good opponents. I think the challenging part for us, I think we're going to go almost 2 weeks before we can have a full-out hard practice. I think that's been the challenging part for us with the way last week was with the Thursday-Saturday match, and then this week with Tuesday-Friday. We are not able to get after it in practice at all. It is trying to manage our team and make sure they're as physically and mentally ready for the matches we have. So I think that's the part that I'm a little concerned about. And talk about things that we still want to get better at, and we're not really able to work on that. We're just focusing on the opponent that we have and working our defense on that as opposed to getting better at our side of the net on some things. But I do like the competition part that we're having. I think that's good, and we had it this last week too with Belmont and Southern as well.
Is Drake your biggest rival right now?
I mean, Drake's going to be a rival just because it's in-state and conference match both. I think it's a really healthy rivalry. I think both teams have a lot of respect for each other. Both have a lot of Iowa kids on our team. So there's just a great rivalry, but a great respect for each other as well. All right, thank you.
All right, shifting gears to Panther Soccer, who wrapped up their 2025 season last Thursday with a 1-0 loss at home to UIC. The All-Valley teams and awards will be announced this Wednesday as the conference tournament got underway yesterday for the top 6 teams in the league. Here to put a bow on the season, Coach Place Thomas.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Like Joel said, wrapping up our season this last Thursday, going into that game, we knew that we were not going to move on to the conference tournament, and so we really spent that day as going into it as a must-win to look at it as a positive way to end our season, and our girls competed very well in that match on Thursday. We were tied for shots against UIC. I think we competed very well. Some of our girls having the best games of their season, probably because there was less pressure on us that day. But again, losing 1-0 wasn't the result that we wanted, but the girls fought back very hard up until the final whistle. They really competed, and that's more than you can ask for. And then looking now at the teams that are still in our conference competing for that title, we lost to UIC 1-0. They're still there. Tied Murray State. They got second. We lost to Drake 1-0, and we lost Illinois State 1-0. So soccer is a close game. It's a fluid sport. We competed in all those matches and just didn't get the results that we wanted to this year, but I think that we've really set a great foundation moving into the future, that we can compete in matches whether we are favored or not in a match. We can compete. And I think that it was really great to see that a lot of our team was very happy and with their experience this fall, with the quick change of coaching staff, that they were ending the game with some smiles on their faces, knowing that we competed well this year and that it was just a positive culture year for us. And so, although we ended our season on a game 1-0 loss, that we had a lot to be grateful for this season, and I was very proud of them. So, with that, I will take any questions.
Having coached the sport at a lot of different levels and a lot of different capacities, what was the biggest experience, I think, for you individually as a coach in terms of coming in D1 level, interim basis, and how you were able to handle this team compared to your past experiences at other places?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest differences that I've noticed here is just the support that I have at other levels. I've had to do a lot of the behind the scenes, and so I'm very grateful for the support staff that we have here, strength and conditioning, SIDs, our equipment room. I could probably keep going, athletic training staff. That the support staff that I've had here has just been absolutely fantastic, and it allows me to focus a lot on the X's and O's and film and things like that. And so I'm very grateful for those people that have helped this transition. Thank you.
All right, moving now to cross-country. Postseason action kicked off over the weekend as the Panthers competed at the MVC Championships down at Evansville. The women's team took 5th place overall, led by Lindsay Sonderman, with the men taking 9th, led by Colin Lilly. UNI returns to action on November 14th at the NCAA Midwest Regional, hosted by Oklahoma State. So here to preview that and the conference championships, Coach Teubel.
Hi, everyone. Yes, so we made the long trip to Evansville this past weekend. Overall, I think there was a lot of exciting things we can take away from both the women's and the men's race. On the women's side, we went in with the goal of trying to be a top 3 team. I thought the women competed really well. Our top 5, our spread was about 30 seconds, which is, really impressive. Murray State really showed up that day, and that was a team we hadn't seen throughout the season. So honestly, kudos to them for just a great team performance. And then Indiana State and Illinois State, we knew were going to be our close competition. It stings a little bit to walk away knowing how close we were to a top 3 performance. But again, like I said, so many things to be excited about. Lindsay was 1 spot out of all conference as a freshman. That's really impressive. Millie Hill, she is our 5th-year senior. She has not raced since Illinois State. She had a near full plantar tear in her foot, so was in a boot for a couple of weeks and really rehabbed that, put in so much work in the AT room, and really just had a lot of faith in the athletic trainers and myself with getting her back to a starting line. And so was just really proud of her for really putting herself out there. I mean, she was sitting our number 2 for the majority of the race. And so to be able to see her go out there and do that, knowing that, she had missed quite a bit of time, that just makes me really proud. And I know that her as a leader for the other girls, that makes them want to be at their best when they know that one of their leaders is putting themselves out there and, willing to compete hard for the group. I'm really proud of them for that. Melody, another one of our 5th years, had the best race of her season, which was really exciting to see. So we have a lot of really good momentum heading into the regional championships with the women. We'll be able to see Illinois State again, which will be a great opportunity for us. And yeah, I'm excited to see what they can do against the conference competition at the regional meet, along with some, more local rivals. That'll be exciting as well. On the men's side, the team performance, I was talking with Coach Paulson about this, and it's, on paper, it looks like we're a lot further away from our goals than we are, but in reality, I think we're a couple pieces away from having a really strong team. We have a couple of guys who are out right now with different injuries and such, and so knowing they're going to be back next year has me really excited for what we can do at the conference level, because I think they can be right in there with our current top guys. Colin, great performance by him, getting 22nd. Really proud of him for that effort. His freshman year, he was right around 70th place, so to make the jump from 70th to 22nd is huge. Ethan, awesome race by him for a freshman. He was 2 seconds off of being freshman of the meet, so was really proud of that performance. And he was coming off of a bit of a rough race at Bradley, so for him to be able to put himself out there and really perform for the team was huge. So really proud of those guys for those efforts. And we had a couple of guys who were disappointed with their performances, and so I think that that's going to carry over into the regional meet, and it'll be another great opportunity to kind of have a little bit of redemption on the end of the season. And the men jump up to 10K, so that's another exciting task to conquer. It'll be a lot of their firsts. So just excited about what we have coming up, and overall really proud of the group. And yeah, we'll put in 2 good weeks of training and hit the course again at Oklahoma State. Any questions?
Especially having heard Coach Place Thomas the last couple times she's been up talking about culture, and especially when the results don't go your way. How do you feel about the culture of this team? For obviously still some positives from last week, but also knowing even if things didn't go great in conference, there's still some things you can do up ahead.
We had the women. We had a great conversation yesterday morning before a long run, just about kind of resetting our expectations for the regional meet. The Oklahoma State course is very difficult, and so our main goal is to go into that, with the mindset of everybody's running that same course, and we have some really achievable goals that we can do there. Millie and Melody are great team leaders on the women's side, and so I know they're really doing a great job of rallying the troops and getting our mind reset for the regional championship. And on the men's side, they're really young. We have one guy graduating, Drew. And Drew did an exceptional job at conference. He was our number 4. This is the first year he's ever been in our scoring 5. So for him, the conference meet was great, but I know he wants to go out with a really strong performance at the regional meet. And he's going to do a great job of getting those guys, their minds all in the right headspace. So yeah, culture-wise, I feel like we're ready to take on kind of the next step, and they walk away from conference feeling a little bit hungry for the next opportunity. So excited about that. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
All right, switching gears to swimming and diving. UNI put together a very strong performance over the weekend, winning. I think I have the number wrong here, Nick. Is it 13 or 14 event wins? We'll call it 14. Very strong showing, winning the team title at the Coyote Extravaganza in South Dakota over the weekend. The Panthers return to the pool November 18th through the 21st at the Hawkeye Invitational down in Iowa City. Here to recap that meet and sporting I swear that beard's getting thicker by the week, Coach Lakin.
Yeah, so we were coming off a meet at Iowa that we weren't very satisfied with, and so took some time, and I think our staff did a really good job identifying some things that we needed to get better at, we needed to work through, and then I think the juniors and seniors kind of finally stepped into the full leadership role that we thought that they were capable of. A lot of those guys are a little bit more on the quiet, thoughtful side and not out in front of the group. Traditionally, but they took a lot of big steps over the course of the last 3 weeks. And then the freshmen and sophomores, kind of after seeing the competition at Iowa, I think took a lot of big steps athletically. And so we saw that Abigail Barkhurst won her first collegiate event in the 500 freestyle. She's a sophomore. Sam Oltgen got her first career win in the 4IM. She's also a sophomore. We had Charlotte Sander won the 50 free both days, and she's a freshman. So a lot of good things out of that group. Elise Brayton won the 100 back with a freshman, Morgan Rather, right behind her. And then sweeping all the relays against the teams that got, I believe, second and fourth in the Summit League last year. Just felt like overall the whole program took a step forward, which is always good. And then we got 3 weeks to get ready for 8 Power 5 teams plus us. So that'll be another good test, especially kind of for our top end. Morgan Meyer, I know, is looking forward to that. She won 6 events this weekend and was third in one other one, but her third place, she was there were 2 UNI people in front of her, so otherwise she would have won the event. So
How would you analyze last weekend? Thinking early in the season, I think you talked last time about some of the strategy that goes involved in putting people in different places. Like one, the coaching strategy of putting people in spots where they could succeed, and then early in the season, so many people doing so well at a meet like this, so a lot of season ahead.
yeah. So we kind of took the time and kind of broke people apart and put them in a lot of different events that we weren't sure how they'd go. We haven't seen, obviously, these freshmen do a lot of these events, and so wanted to see how they reacted. And I think one of the big ones we walked away with really excited about was the last event was the 400 free relay. We led Morgan off, and then we let 3 freshmen handle the rest. So we weren't sure how that would go, but they ended up holding off South Dakota by, I believe, 2/10. So hopefully that's a building block for all 3 of them, that they're ready to compete at this level, which is really what we're trying to teach them kind of as we go through the early part of the season. All right, thank you.
All right, before we get into UNI football, the women's basketball team opens its 2025-26 campaign tonight against North Dakota State inside the McLeod Center. We will not have Coach Warren today as she's preparing for tonight. She will make her Monday press conference debut next Monday. We will also have a post-game press conference tonight after the game. UNI football came up short in a 31-16 loss at number 17 Illinois State on Saturday. Most notably in that game, the Panthers blocked their second field goal of the season, courtesy of Malik Stewart, and their 5th overall blocked kick on the season. Panthers are back in the Unidome this Saturday to take on Murray State at 1 p.m. Central. With that, here's Coach Stepsis.
Boy, when you're talking about block kicks, that must mean that there's not a whole lot else going on. But if you follow us along and you really know football, you can see that we're inching towards where we want to be. Is it as fast as the team wants it to go? Absolutely not. Is it as fast as the community and the campus wants it to go? Absolutely not. But if you really dive into the game this weekend, you see progress in all 3 phases. The block kick on special teams, for us to continue to do that, to either take points off the board or to flip the field, has been huge. Offensively, we're still not finding the end zone as much as we need to. However, again, you're starting to see us have some more success running the ball. We were really good on third downs compared to what we've been in the past. Jackson came in and I thought did a really nice job on his first start. He's got some room for improvement as far as getting rid of the ball maybe on time. Sometimes when he's climbing the pocket, he does a really nice job of doing that. But to climb the pocket to throw as opposed to climb the pocket to run, maybe miss some opportunities in the passing game there. But defensively, last couple weeks we just really started slow. And a lot of times when you play poor defense, it's less to do with personnel and calls and more to do with trust. And so do I trust the guy next to me to do his 1/11th? Do I trust the call that the coach made? Do I trust the techniques that we've been practicing during the week? I think when the bullets start flying and it's real and the speed picks up, I think sometimes the doubt creeps up and maybe you fall back in old habits. But when you saw that first half and you really watched defense, that's what you saw. You saw guys not attacking it with great leverage, not taking great angles to the ball, not hitting with the right shoulder. I think fun thing to do if you ever have a view, whether it's live or some of the simulcasts that you watch football now. You can watch the game from the end zone view, and so when the defense's back is to you, the great defenses, you can always see their numbers. They always stay square to the line of scrimmage. You never see them get their body turned. And a lot of times on big plays, you start to see that. You see a defensive lineman get his shoulders turned to where he can't escape to the outside. You see a linebacker, take on with a wrong shoulder and his shoulders get turned and then, the ball get bounced, or a defensive back, flipping his hips a little bit too soon and then losing his leverage. And so you see all those kinds of things happen really these last couple weeks in the first half. But I think I'm a glasses half full kind of guy. The thing I really appreciate about our team, and I told them after the game how proud I am of them, is that you continue to see us be competitive when the score doesn't necessarily feel like you should want to be competitive anymore. So we've fallen behind, and then we've played better in the second half. And so, seeing us score in the second half, seeing us come up with a big fourth down stop in the second half, seeing us at the end of the game, getting a stop way down there near the goal line so we have a chance to get the ball back to potentially kick an onside kick if we can get it down there. I mean, the team continues to battle. And so while the goal of winning a conference championship or making the playoffs and all that stuff, those went away, you can see how really the focus has reshifted of, well, how can we finish this season right way? How can we leave our legacy? Talking about the seniors who are playing their last 3 games here, as Panthers, how can we leave our legacy and help build the foundation for the future? And so that's something I've really appreciated about our team is they've continued to be positive, upbeat, love football, love their teammates, and the results aren't there, but they still understand it's about focusing on the things you need to do every day, and the score is going to take care of itself. And so I'm looking forward to this weekend. Murray State is not what their record says, and I really quick with our team, I'd say, hey, listen, they're in the same spot we are. Neither one of us have won a conference game, so both teams are going to be really hungry to get that first win. Offensively, they've shown to be able to score points, and contradictorily, we haven't. So I think that's going to be a challenge for us right out from the gate. Is how can we slow them down, and then how can we generate points to get them to play from behind? But I think all 3 phases they have solid players. I think offensively they do a nice job with shifts and trades and motions, be able to create stacks and bunches to get the ball to perimeter to their weapons. And I think defensively they play really, really hard. You see them multiple times with their backs against the wall, deep into their own territory, coming up with first and goal, second goal, third and goal stops. And so they're hungry for their first win. They're going to come in here and give us our best shot, and our players are definitely going to do the same. But any questions?
Coach, how do you continue to trust the process in a situation like Panthers are going through right now?
Yeah, I think that is an awesome question. I mean, when you're not getting the results, it's so easy to not get emotionally attached to that. And so, very easy to get down, to get disappointed, to get frustrated in one another. For me as the leader of the program, I got to continue to stay who I am. I can't be up and down. I can't be, this positive, upbeat guy and then dog cuss him the next breath. And so the consistency of how I can lead from the top, and then our position coaches can lead their position groups, I think help us stay, hey man, let's stay even keel here. Let's be disappointed about an outcome, but then let's figure out how we can move forward, and let's point out the positives, the ways that we can improve and grow as a team. It's much easier to learn lessons in a win as opposed to a loss, but then those scars are part of who we are, and so let's wear those scars, let's own them, and then let's figure out how to move forward with those defeats and come out on the other side better. Nothing good is ever easy. And so, continuing to press forward, continuing to believe in each other and believe in the process, easier said than done, but, just the consistency of staying positive, upbeat, finding the good, learning from the bad, and, just continuing to move forward.
With your belief in your team and being close and just waiting still on a breakthrough, Indiana State upsetting South Dakota State catch your attention at all yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
With that in mind?
Oh, yeah. The minute I start feeling bad about, all the injuries we had, I see that, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, well, South Dakota State didn't have their quarterback. And it's like, oh, well, there you go. So we're not the only ones that are dealing with it. And our league is just top to bottom is so competitive. I think it was the 5th ranked team we played in a row. And, even the teams that aren't ranked prove proof's in the pudding. Those teams can rise up and beat. If someone has said that South Dakota would have beat North Dakota, I would have looked at them kind of like, what? I thought North Dakota was a Final Four team when they came in here, way back when. And so, yeah, seeing the underdogs, come out on top, I think that's just, how can we send these seniors out the right way, man? Let's do everything we can to have a victory.
Didn't talk about injuries, but did you lose a defensive tackle last week?
Well, we lost a couple players, at least for a game. So we had a safety, so Jordan McCollum, so he'll be out next week. And then one of our offensive linemen got dinged up a little bit too. So we're kind of waiting to see if he's going to be back or not. But he got hurt. Both Jordan got hurt a little bit later. We got the nice thing about this redshirt rule is, we've been kind of keeping some of these freshmen close to the vest, and hey man, here's an opportunity for you to go out there and show us what you got in real life, game scenarios, and so then fast forward, building the foundation, the process. Well, all of a sudden, like those guys, if they're the guy or one of the guys opening week next year, this isn't the first time that they've seen that or felt that. And so, yeah, we had a few more guys go down, but fortunately for us, like I just think of the offensive line, like Kyle Kelly came in and played really well. Probably of all the offensive linemen, he graded out the best. And so, and that's a guy too that he'll be a super senior next year. And so, for him and his size and his ability, like he was really, really good before the knee injury. And then boy, it took him, well over a year to get back from that to just be cleared to do stuff. And then every week you can just see him getting better and better. So awesome to see that. Parker Thomas is another one that kind of came in because Jack Hearn, he's out for the year with a broken hand. We tried to club him up, but none of you guys look like former offensive linemen. But boy, you need both hands. Both hands to be able to grab, on the inside, and so when you only have one hand, it's kind of tough to do. And so it was neat seeing those two guys come in and play pretty well for the most part.
Speaking of that redshirt rule, will we see? I think he's got 2 games left to play. Christian Collins.
Yeah, he's another guy that we're, here soon. One thing we worry about, when a guy that has 2 left and we have 3 games potentially, it's like, okay, we want to wait to the last 2 games just in case, like I've seen all hell break loose and bang, there's a guy goes down, and all of a sudden, boy, that guy has to play that last game, and you would feel terrible to use a red shirt on one game. So, he continues to get reps in practice along with those other guys. I thought Harrison Bay Bowie came in and he ran better than he's run since really the opening week. Wyoming, he did a nice job too. And so, him and Bill, continuing to use those guys, 1-2 punch. Jackson has run the ball really well, pretty much this whole year, but this week in particular, though, I saw him yesterday and he said, yeah, I'm pretty sore. And, his shoulder was a little banged up before that game and his knee was a little banged up before that game. I was like, well, how's your shoulder and knee? He's like, actually, those are fine, but man, it's my hips and my ribs and my ankles and everything else. And so it's like, well, now we got to be careful with that stuff, So we're still going to use him in the run game. How can we stretch the team out so, boy, he's not having to run into the dryer there, man, and turned on the full speed tumble cycle there. But it's there's going to be some newer faces maybe in the secondary, that maybe we haven't seen before, So I'm excited to see those young guys. They're hungry, to get some snaps.
Do you feel you match up better with Murray State after going through this murderer's row?
Yeah, that was something our staff talked about a little bit, just from moving forward and in this next game. There were guys that were really scary in all these teams that we've played, and you look at Murray State and they've got some scary guys. And so so it's not necessarily like you think, oh man, they haven't won any games in conference yet, there's a drop off. It's like, no, they actually are. They're pretty stout in the middle, like all these teams we've played. They've got some great speed and some good schemes to be able to get guys open and then get them out in space so they can run away from you. So yeah, they're looking like a Valley team. Maybe yeah, NDSU, they feel like we've seen them on tape now several times. They look the part, and they really, they're playing really well right now. But yeah, the rest of the teams, they all kind of have the same concerns, So all three phases, like, okay, that guy, he's got the ball in his hands, man. We better be running at him, or hey, we got to figure out how to block that guy, because if we're not careful, he's going to have 25 tackles against us.
First, I may not look like a former offensive lineman, but Waverly Shellrock might still have tape of me running a mean 51 trap with the JVs.
Oh, were you the puller?
Well, more often than not, I had a guy lined up in the gap, so audible with the center, do a double team on that guy.
Oh, okay, beautiful. I love it.
Well, Murray State has been in the conference for a few years, but finally facing UNI in a conference game for the first time. Is there anything to suggest that you're obviously new to the program this year, and a lot of people are, but there's some people who've been around all those years. Are they excited to finally get a chance at this team?
Yeah. I think I kind of felt the same way, when we finally played Southern Illinois. It's like, man, it's finally a Valley team I haven't played yet. This is awesome. And so the same thing this past week with Illinois State. So a lot of the players on the team, they're like, man, yeah, this is kind of cool. New opponent, new opportunity, new guys to go against and challenge. There's always some fun when it comes to a new opponent, and I know I've heard rumblings of that, on Sunday, and then again, as guys have kind of popped in and out. They're pumped to play a new team that they haven't played before. All right, thanks, guys.
All right, just two more quick things while Joel is getting Coach Jake. UNI tennis wrapped up its fall portion of the season this weekend at the Drake Invite. Joel will be gone this weekend, so I will be covering volleyball on Friday and men's basketball on Sunday. So if you have any requests or any questions for those, just forward those on to me.
All right, UNI men's basketball will tip off the regular season on Thursday when they host Cal State Northridge, 7 p.m. tip-off here in the McLeod Center. The Panthers are coming off a 96-67 exhibition win over Upper Iowa on Saturday with 6 players in double figures, including a double-double by Leon Bond. Here to preview that this week's opener, Coach Jake.
Thanks, Joel. That's pretty good. No notes for you, and you had all that. Not bad, Joel, not bad. I've been watching games this morning. Today's the first day of games for college basketball, and been watching a little bit in the office in between some preparation. So fun to have it started. Cal State Northridge last year won 22 games, played in the NIT. So some similarities that way, maybe big picture in terms of our teams last year, with us getting to 20 wins and playing at SMU in the NIT. Like I said, they were at 22 wins. They played in the first round at Stanford, and really well coached, play extremely hard. Offensively, they want the basketball in the paint. They're going to transition. It's going to come at you fast. They're going to drive it hard, and they've got different ways to create some angles and some space on the floor to be able to get the basketball at the front of the rim. That ties into what we've talked a lot about over the last 2 weeks since the scrimmage with South Dakota, right? You've asked about it, or I've brought it up in terms of guarding the basketball, staying in front of the basketball, and how important that is for our defense. We're going to be tested Thursday with what Northridge has shown. Then defensively, they've played mostly man-to-man, very physical on the boards. Like I said, just well coached and play really hard. And so keeping the ball out of the paint. Obviously rebounding is important no matter who you're playing, but I would just tell you specific to Northridge is being able to stay in front of that basketball, and being physical in regarding the ball and keeping it out of the paint, and then offensively we're going to be challenged in the way of they've shown some switching with all 5 of their defenders, right? and we you're going to see that as you go through the course of the season. where teams will switch the ball screen with their center, and Northridge has shown, at least last year's team, showed that they will switch the ball screen. So that's, in some ways, that's a little bit challenging to have our first game be that way, because you don't see that as often as you see other coverages against the ball screen. So, yeah, looking forward to today's practice and our preparation, and just knowing that we are playing a team that's really well coached and is, competes very, very hard. So it's going to be a fun one Thursday. With that, I take your questions.
What did you think about Saturday's exhibition with Upper Iowa?
I thought there was parts of it that were a little better than I thought when I watched the film after I got home, and a couple areas we guarded the ball better. More. It was better more often than it was 2 weeks earlier against South Dakota. Okay? There's still situations where we our footwork, and I've talked to the guys a lot about our footwork, our balance, and our position, and those are so important to staying in front of the basketball and to building your defense. And they've already heard me say it. I'm going to say 100 times, if not more. Right? And that showed up again. I bring that up because it showed up again against Upper Iowa, where I felt like we were more active and we were better on the ball. Right? But we got tripped up a little bit with some simple footwork, some positioning, going for a little bit of a shot fake. So then that would lead to getting out of position. Our balance on a couple of plays defensively. So we're going to keep working hard at those three things. Fundamentally, I feel like we can, and it's really early, right? So we will get better as we go, okay? And you always do. Fundamentally, you continue to get better and better as you play games and you play against opponents. And but I would like to see us take a good step forward in the next 3 days, and then with our footwork, with our balance, with our positioning, because it's going to really be tested on Thursday. Our ability, like I said, our ability to guard the basketballs are really going to be tested Thursday. And I think, and I was talking with one of our younger players about this, and sometimes I think you feel like as a player, or maybe maybe as fans, like you think about the bigger picture things, right? You think about how they got open and made a three, and you think about things that are much more exciting than your footwork and your balance and your position, right? It's just that's normal and natural, and it's certainly that way with younger players. And when you do it every day, for guys, when you're at practice every day and you really dive into the film, most of the errors that get made defensively are footwork, balance, and position. Right? They are directly tied back to the fundamentals of building a strong defense individually, and more importantly into that team defense. And and I would it's one of those things that I don't think is any different no matter what you're doing, whether you're guarding a basketball, playing basketball, or doing whatever it is that you're working hard to be successful at. I don't think it's any different, right? It comes back to the fundamentals of what you're doing, right? And that's an area where we, like I said, over the next 3 days, would like to see us to make some strides there.
Ben have a chance to practice today?
Yes, he was in maybe half of our workout on, so that would be Friday, right? Was the last workout before that Upper Iowa scrimmage. Yeah, about 50-60% of it he was in, and was moving around okay. I don't know yet what that means for Thursday, but he will be able to practice again today. No setbacks, so he will be able to practice again today. And we're hoping to get maybe a little bit more, maybe get it up to 60-70% of what we're doing in today's practice, up from 50-60 up to maybe 65-70 if he's able to. Yeah.
3 red shirts, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Could you tell us about those 3 and just the rationale?
Yeah, so Reddick, a little bit different in that he's in his second year. Right? Last year was on, we were redshirting him until we had the injury to RJ and Kale battling the knee injury all year, and just felt like we needed to have a little more depth there. And I've talked with the young guys on our team about this, and with Reddick and our entire team. The team always comes first. right? With the decisions that get made and the way you put your season together, right? The decisions always point to what's going to be best for our team right now, right? And then hand in hand with that, and just barely behind that is individually, right? What is going to be best for a young guy in terms of their development, and we've always worked to redshirt some guys. I think it's more challenging, and I'll get back to the guys. But I think more challenging these days, and I talked with some recruits about it and their families just the other day, and I talked with our young guys about it. It's more challenging because everybody wants everything right now, right? That doesn't mean that necessarily, I'm not talking specifically about the players in our program. I'm talking more about everything around them, right? The number of things that are coming at young people right now just adds to them feeling like, if they're not playing as a freshman, if they're not playing a lot as a freshman, that they're, you've got people asking you why and what's going on and how come, and I think that's really challenging, and has been for a while, right, for young people. So in terms of our program, as you know, we've worked hard to redshirt players over the course of my time here. All 25 years of it, we've worked hard to do that and really have that be part of what we're doing. And we want to continue to be able to do that. So I really like that we're in a situation from a roster standpoint where we're able to have Reddick redshirt this year, right? To really get on that development plan. And then the other piece with him is that thumb injury that he had last year kept him out of a lot of practices, a lot of workouts and a lot of practices. And so not able to, even had it gone the same way in terms of redshirting and then not, his development was slowed, if you will, just because he was injured a lot of the year. And so feel great about Reddick being able to take that redshirt this year. Let the thumb, the thumb is healthy right now, but it allows us to wear the harder plastic at practice and not feel like you got to get ready for a game or go into a game and take that hard plastic off of the thumb, which puts it in a spot where you could re-injure it. So a lot of positives for Reddick to be able to do that this year. And then Jalen and Valdo as true freshmen. Goes back to maybe what I was talking about, the more of the big picture, the ability to redshirt two young guys that we really, really like. Right? When you redshirt, for us, and I think for a lot of programs, but for us, they're in the weight room 4 days a week. Individual workouts are kind of 40 to 45 minutes, but you're able to go at a different pace and get more out of them. You're doing that at least 5 days a week. Practice, you're on the scout team, and when you're on the scout team, that means you get to be the other team's starters. So you're going to be, one of the. If you hit it on the right scout, you get to be their best player, which means you get every play ran for you, and you get to shoot all the time. And it's things that wouldn't be happening, right? If you're playing as a true freshman. Those things don't happen for you. So development in the weight room, development in the individual workouts. It takes the game out of it, so you don't have the man. If I'm only playing a few minutes and again, the outside, kind of noise of, why aren't you playing more? Why this and that, and all the things that, when you're here every day, we all understand, why those things are going on and why the roster and the depth chart is the way it is. So it takes all of that out of the equation, so you can really focus on the development, right? And then you look roster, okay. So Tristan he's a one-year guy for us, right? Similar position to Jalen, right? And I could go through a couple more guys, but that's also a piece of it, So Jalen, he knows he's going to be working like crazy, 4 or 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and really focused on his development as a player and, gaining the understanding of what it takes to be a successful player at the Division I level. And then also guys that have 1 year left, they're going to graduate for us, Tristan being one of them. Izzy, most likely, going to be a 1 year guy. So guys that are similar in position graduate, right? And now that opportunity is a little bit different when you're a redshirt freshman. And the last thing I would say about it is, and again, it's more big picture. Jalen and I were talking about it before shoot around. It's a lot easier and it's a lot more fun playing. And this was before shoot around. So I said, look, it's a lot easier and it's a lot more fun if you were playing in tonight's game and if you were playing in Thursday's game. Like for you, the excitement, and even for me as your coach, I'd love to see you out there. For your family and for your coaches in high school and AAU, but nobody's going to remember the 5 years from now, nobody's going to remember the Upper Iowa scrimmage or exhibition game. Even the first game of the year, in the first couple games, like 5 years from now, nobody's going to remember that. 5 years from now, though, is when you need to be playing your best basketball, being your best self, because now it's time for you to get your next job. And for Jalen, he wants that to be in basketball. So that's probably a longer answer than what you were looking for, Cole, but I love that part of our program and the opportunity right now to redshirt 3 young guys that we really like. And we want to be able to continue to do that, even though the transfer portal, again, and you've heard me say this, the transfer portal and the money and, everybody wants things right now, right? That's so prevalent, right? The guys hear so much about that, and that's what they read about. And we want to, our focus is continue to be on recruiting high school players, and we want to be able to redshirt guys when we can so we can help them develop.
How helpful is it preparing a scouting report for the Matadors, given that they have a game tonight against Nobel University? So that's 40 minutes of seeing what this year's edition of that team looks like.
Yeah, that always helps. The opportunity to do that tonight and get a feel for even as things as maybe basic as the starting lineup. Right? They've got a couple of really good players back. They've also got some transfers that we have researched from their previous teams and know are very good players. So. Anywhere from who's starting and who the first guy's off the bench, and then getting a handle on some of the things I talked about. Is this team going to be similar to the team that we watched last year? We watched a lot of film on last year's team. Is there going to be some similarities in terms of, and our feeling is yes, but in terms of the aggressiveness and transition, driving the basketball and wanting to be on top of the rim, rebounding both ends. Are they tonight? We'll see some of the defensive things. Are they still switching with all 5 players on the ball screen? So, hopefully we'll be able to get a handle on some of those things tonight. Anybody else? Thanks. Yep.
All right, 3 quick notes before I let you guys go. Wrestling will kick off their season starting Sunday at the Journeyman Collegiate Classic in Pennsylvania. No Coach Schwab today, but they will be kicking off their season on Sunday. A reminder, I think most of you have already taken care of it, but credentials for the Iowa women's game on November 16th, the window to apply for that will be closing this coming Sunday at 10 p.m. Central. Given our limited space in the McLeod Center, we just want to make sure that we're allocating, where we need to put everybody. So if you are planning on attending that game and have not filled that form out, please do so by Sunday at 10 p.m. And one more quick note. I will not be here this weekend for volleyball or men's basketball. I will be at a wedding. So if you have any questions, please refer to Josh as he will be taking over for me. So, all right. Thanks, everybody.